I want you to remember something. The world will try to label you before it learns your name. It will try to define you before it even hears your story. That's why you have to know who you are before they tell you who you should be. When I started my journey, I walked into rooms where nobody knew me. I was a girl from a small town in India, stepping into a world that didn't always look like me, talk like me, or believe in what I could become. And let me tell you, there were people who smiled to my face and doubted me behind my back. People who said I was too Indian for Hollywood and too Western for Bollywood. People who made me feel like I didn't belong anywhere. But I had something they couldn't see. I knew my worth. I didn't wait for the world to clap for me. I clapped for myself first, and that's what I want for you. To stop waiting for someone to validate your existence. If you rely on others to tell you that you matter, you'll always feel small. You'll always be chasing approval like it's oxygen. But when you know who you are truly, deeply, it changes everything. Knowing your worth doesn't mean you think you're perfect. It means you understand that you are valuable even with your flaws, even with your fears, even when you're still figuring it out. It's waking up in the morning and saying, I deserve to be here. I have something to offer, and then carrying yourself like you believe it. When you don't know your worth, you say yes to things that drain you. You tolerate relationships that break you. You accept treatment that is beneath you, and you end up shrinking just to fit into someone else's idea of what you should be. Let me say this clearly. You are not here to be small. You are here to be expansive. You are here to take up space. I've learned that the loudest voices around you aren't always the wisest. Sometimes the world will make you feel like you're too much, too bold, too outspoken, too ambitious. But you know what? Too much for them might be just enough for the life you're meant to live. There's a quote I love. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. That starts with self-awareness. When you know what you deserve, you stop settling. You stop begging. You start walking away from things that make you doubt your value. And you start walking toward things that elevate you. So ask yourself, if you were the only person left in the room, would you still believe in yourself? Would you still know your worth if there was no one left to clap? That's the real test, because your value doesn't come from applause. It comes from presence. It comes from how you show up for yourself when no one else is watching. I'm not saying it's easy. There are days when self-doubt creeps in. There are moments when you question if you're good enough. But the goal isn't to never feel fear, it's to never let fear decide your value. You are not defined by the roles you get, the followers you have, or the attention you receive. You are defined by how deeply you believe that you matter, not someday, not when you achieve more, right now. So before the world gives you a title, give yourself the truth. You are enough. You are worthy, and you don't need anyone's permission to shine. Why do we live in a world where the moment a woman dares to dream big, she's called aggressive? Where ambition when worn by a man is seen as leadership, but when worn by a woman is seen as arrogance? I've experienced it. If you've ever wanted more for yourself, more success, more freedom, more impact, you probably have too. And to that I say this, never apologize for wanting more. Never apologize for being ambitious. There was a time when I used to feel guilty for speaking up about what I wanted. Like I had to cushion my dreams so they didn't make anyone uncomfortable. But here's the truth, your ambition is not a problem. Other people's discomfort with it is not your burden to carry. I've always been ambitious. Even as a teenager, I didn't just want to be good. I wanted to be great. That didn't come from a place of ego. It came from a place of vision. I could see a future that didn't exist yet, and I knew I had to chase it, even if no one else could see it too. But let me tell you, the world will test you for that. People will try to dim your light because it exposes the places they haven't yet grown. They'll call you too loud, too bossy, too driven, anything to make you question your hunger, but don't you dare tone yourself down just to make others comfortable. You weren't born to fit in, you were born to rise. Being ambitious doesn't mean stepping on others to get ahead. It means showing up every day with purpose. It means working hard, making bold choices, and being unapologetic about your goals. It means knowing that you have every right to want a seat at the table, or to build a bigger table entirely. You have to believe in yourself fiercely, even when no one else does, especially when no one else does. Because the truth is, if you don't believe in your own dreams, how can you expect anyone else to? And believing in yourself doesn't mean you'll never fail, it means you'll keep going even when you do. Because your ambition is bigger than one rejection. It's bigger than one no. It's a fire and you have to protect it. Ambition is often misunderstood, especially for women. We're taught to be grateful for what we get, to not ask for too much, to be humble, to smile more and speak less. But humility doesn't mean you have to make yourself smaller. You can be humble and still take up space. You can be kind and still be unstoppable. So if someone calls you too ambitious, take it as a compliment. Wear it like a crown. It means you have goals that make small minds nervous. It means you're not willing to settle for average. It means you are awake to your potential. Your ambition is not something to suppress, it's something to celebrate. It's the force that will push you beyond limits, beyond boundaries, beyond expectations, and the world needs more people who are brave enough to want more, not just for themselves, but for everyone who comes after them. So don't apologize for dreaming bigger than what's expected of you. Don't apologize for asking for what you deserve. Don't apologize for taking up space in the boardroom, on the screen, in the studio, or anywhere else you decide to show up. Stand tall in your ambition, own it, fuel it, because ambition isn't something to hide. It's something to honor, and always remember, you don't need permission to be powerful, you already are. Let's have a real conversation. A lot of us have been taught, whether silently, socially, or through experience, that love has to hurt a little, that attention has to be earned, that we should be grateful for scraps and call them blessings. And I'm here to tell you, stop romanticizing the bare minimum, stop calling survival love, stop mistaking effortlessness for effort. We've grown up on movies where someone sends a late-night text and that's supposed to mean they care. Where someone gives you just enough attention to keep you hooked, and that's passed off as romance. But here's the truth, you deserve more than someone who checks in when it's convenient. You deserve more than breadcrumbs. Being mentally strong means recognizing when something is not enough and having the courage to walk away from it. Whether it's in relationships, friendships, work, or any area of your life, the bare minimum is not a gift. It's not impressive, and it should never be something you glorify. I know what it's like to want something to work so badly that you start shrinking your expectations. You convince yourself that the good moments are enough to justify the emptiness you feel the rest of the time. You cling to a compliment here, a call there, a vague promise of someday. But let me tell you, someday is not a plan. Inconsistency is not love. Confusion is not connection. I'm not saying people have to be perfect. No one is, but there's a difference between imperfection and neglect. There's a difference between growing together and being strung along. There's a difference between compromise and settling, and you have to be strong enough to know that difference. You don't need someone to complete you. You need someone who sees that you're already whole and wants to walk beside you. And if they're not doing that, if they're not showing up with clarity, intention, and respect, then they're not for you. And that's not your loss, that's their lesson. People who truly care about you don't make you guess how they feel. They don't give you mixed signals and call it mystery. They don't go days without speaking to you and then pop back in like nothing happened. Real love is consistent. Real love communicates. Real love shows up. Daily, not occasionally. And let's be honest, sometimes we accept less because we're scared that we won't find more. That if we let go of this almost thing, we'll be left with nothing. But here's what I've learned. Nothing is better than a fake something. Peace is better than chaos. Silence is better than mixed messages. Self-respect is better than temporary validation. When you stop romanticizing the bare minimum, you start reclaiming your power. You stop waiting for someone to choose you and you start choosing yourself. You raise your standards not because you're difficult, but because you finally understand your worth. We have to normalize love that is calm, clear, and committed. We have to celebrate effort, not just charm. We have to unlearn this idea that suffering is a sign of depth or that unpredictability is passion. That's not love, That's emotional roulette. So the next time someone gives you the bare minimum, I want you to ask yourself, is this really enough for me, or have I just been told to believe it should be? Be honest, be brave, because choosing more for yourself, demanding more, expecting more, being more will always be worth it. You don't need to beg for love, you don't need to earn basic respect, and you definitely don't need to lower your standards to make someone else comfortable. Stop romanticizing the bare minimum. Start romanticizing a life where you are deeply valued, not just occasionally noticed. Rejection stings. Let's not sugarcoat it. Whether it's a job you really wanted, a relationship you thought would last, or a dream that didn't work out the way you imagined. It hurts, it bruises your ego, it makes you question your worth. It can make even the most confident person feel small, unworthy, or lost. But here's what I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way. Rejection isn't the end, it's a reroute. It's the universe telling you, not this way, not yet. I've faced rejection more times than I can count. Auditions I didn't land, projects I didn't get, people who doubted me, passed me over, or told me I wasn't right for something, and yes, it stung. But every single time, without fail, something better came along. Something that aligned more with who I truly was. I didn't always see it in the moment. Sometimes I cried, sometimes I felt angry, sometimes I doubted everything, but I always got back up, because I realized something powerful. When a door closes, it's not the end of the hallway. It's just a sign to try another one. Rejection forces you to pause and reassess. It strips away the illusion of control and reminds you that life isn't always linear, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes what you want so desperately isn't actually meant for you. Sometimes the timing isn't right. Sometimes it's protecting you from something you can't yet see. I remember early in my career, I was passed over for a role that I thought would change everything for me. I was devastated. I questioned if I was good enough, if I had what it took to make it. But just a few months later, another opportunity came. Something bigger, something better, something that let me shine in a way I couldn't have in that other role. That no was actually a blessing. It was redirection, and that's the mindset you have to build, especially if you want to be mentally strong. You have to learn to see rejection not as a stop sign, but as a detour. A chance to course correct, a moment to sharpen your vision and say, okay, maybe not this, but what else? Because sometimes being pushed off one path is what gets you on the right one. Mental strength is about how you respond when things don't go your way. It's easy to feel confident when everything is working out, but the real growth, the real grit, comes when you're told no. And you keep going anyway, you stay hungry, you stay focused, and you believe that your yes is still out there. I always say, rejection is simply redirection towards something that fits you better, serves you deeper, and grows you further. If you're willing to see it that way, it will stop being your enemy and start becoming your teacher. It will teach you resilience, patience, self-worth, and most importantly, trust. Trust in your journey. Trust in your ability to adapt. Trust that sometimes the universe has a bigger plan for you than the one you wrote for yourself. Because every rejection you survive makes you stronger, it chisels you, it builds character, it gives you depth and empathy and wisdom. So the next time you hear no, don't crumble, don't chase, don't beg. Just pause, breathe, and smile if you can, and say to yourself, thank you for the redirection. I know something greater is coming. Because it is, it always is. Let me tell you something that took me years to understand. Your peace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is not something you protect when everything else is done. It's something you prioritize, like your career, like your relationships, like your health. In fact, without peace, none of those things can truly thrive. There was a time when I thought I had to say yes to everything. To every opportunity, every person who wanted a piece of me, every situation that pulled at my attention. I used to think being busy meant I was succeeding, but slowly I realized something was missing. Not from my calendar, but from within me. I was exhausted, not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that kind of exhaustion is dangerous because it starts to feel normal. That's when I learned the value of protecting my peace, and I protect it now like it's gold, because it is. Peace is what keeps you centered when the world is spinning. It's what allows you to think clearly, to choose wisely, to love deeply, and to act with purpose. Without peace, you become reactive, you become overwhelmed, you start making decisions from fear, from pressure, from burnout, not from strength. And when you constantly live in chaos, you forget what calm even feels like. Let's be real. Peace doesn't always come naturally. You have to fight for it sometimes. You have to set boundaries that might disappoint people. You have to say no to things that look good on paper but don't feel right in your gut. You have to walk away from conversations, relationships, and environments that drain you. And here's the hardest part. You have to stop apologizing for doing so. We live in a world that celebrates hustle, drama, and overstimulation. You're told that rest is laziness, that quiet is boring, and that stillness is weakness, but don't buy into that. Protecting your peace is one of the strongest, boldest things you can do, because it means choosing yourself in a world that constantly demands pieces of you. I've had to learn to recognize the signs when something is threatening my peace. It might be a conversation that leaves me feeling smaller, a person who only calls when they need something, a situation where I feel like I'm performing instead of being, and now I don't wait for it to destroy me. I exit, politely but firmly, no drama, no guilt. Just clarity. Your peace should not be negotiable. It is not selfish to protect it. It is not cold to walk away from what disturbs it. It's not rude to choose quiet over chaos. In fact, it's the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the people who truly care about you. Because when you're at peace, you show up better for your work, your family, your dreams, and your own soul. Let's normalize healing in private. Let's normalize silence over explanation. Let's normalize saying, I just need space. You don't need to explain your peace to anyone who values you. They'll understand, and if they don't, that tells you everything. You weren't born to be in survival mode all the time. You weren't created to live in constant noise and stress. You were made to experience joy, clarity, focus, and freedom. And those things live on the other side of peace, so protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. It's not what you get after you've earned everything. It's what allows you to enjoy everything, and trust me, once you feel the power of true peace, you won't trade it for anything or anyone. There's this phrase people throw around, she's so full of herself, and it's always meant as an insult, but let me ask you something. What's so wrong with being full of yourself? Why are we taught that self-belief is arrogance, that celebration is ego, and that loving yourself loudly makes you too much? Here's the truth. You need to be full of yourself. Not in the shallow, self-centered way people try to twist it, but in the way that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring to the table, I don't need to shrink to make anyone else feel comfortable. I've been called too confident, too bold, too ambitious, and you know what. I take it as a compliment, because being full of yourself doesn't mean you think you're better than anyone else. It means you finally stopped thinking you're less. You have to fill your own cups, oh much so that it overflows. Because when you overflow, you give from abundance, not lack. You radiate from a place of wholeness, not desperation. You don't beg for validation. You don't chase attention. You don't cling to things that hurt you just because you're afraid to be alone. You stand tall, you walk with purpose, you speak with clarity because you're not empty, you're full of self, love, of wisdom, of grace, of power. Being full of yourself means you know your worth even when the world tries to discount it. It means your confidence is rooted in something deeper than likes or applause. It's rooted in knowing that you've survived things that could have broken you. It's knowing you've picked yourself up again and again, even when nobody saw it. You don't need to dim your light for someone else's comfort. You don't need to downplay your success so others won't feel insecure. You don't need to apologize for taking up space. Take up space, own your presence. Command your life, and yes, some people won't like it. That's okay. Your job isn't to be likable to everyone. Your job is to be authentic to yourself, to honor your voice, to choose your joy, to protect your energy. And to keep your head high, even when they try to lower your worth to fit into their box. Being full of yourself also means setting boundaries, without guilt. It means saying no when it's not aligned. It means saying yes to rest, to solitude, to healing, to peace. It means you stop seeking permission to live life on your terms. We spend too much time trying to make ourselves smaller. We edit our personalities. We hold back our talents. We silence our dreams. And for what? So we don't come off as too much. I say be too much. Be loud, be vibrant, be present, be unapologetically you. You were not born to be half of anything. You were not put here to water yourself down. You are not a fraction. You are a whole, and the world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs people who are so full of self-love that it spills into everything they do. So love yourself fully. Believe in yourself completely, talk to yourself kindly, dress like you're already the success you dream of, move like you belong in every room you walk into, and if someone can't handle your fullness, that's not your burden to carry, that's their work to do. You are your own home, your own source, your own reminder that you are enough. Be so full of yourself you overflow, and let the overflow be a gift to the world.